All right, let's do it live on a Tuesday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. The great Z is going to join on the Twisted Tea hotline. In fact, he's going to do so right now because right as we went off the air yesterday, within a couple of minutes, ironically enough, the Browns placed linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah on the reserve PUP list. He will not play this season. The statement from JOK to the Cleveland Browns fan base and my supporters worldwide: thank you for your patience in my silence. From day one, you embraced me as more than a player, but also as a brother, a young man with purpose. I'm grateful for the Browns organization for their full support and to the world-class doctors guiding me through recovery. While I won't suit up this season, I'm focused on what I can control: my healing, my mindset, my faith. The body may rest, but calling never sleeps. I've given my heart to this game. I don't know what's next, but I'll continue trusting my medical team, serving the community, and backing my brothers on the field. Love always, JOK. Z, you and I obviously talked about this yesterday after the show. There certainly was some feeling that this was in play, just with how this whole offseason has gone and just how quiet it's all been on that front. But to hear it finally made official, your reaction, buddy, is what? Do we have Z?
Yeah, no doubt. And
go ahead, bud. Go ahead. Sorry, we didn't.
Yeah,
you're on now. You're on now. Go ahead.
No doubt that this was unfortunately always in play, and it's fair to wonder whether or not Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah will ever play football in the National Football League again. And it's a sad thing, and as he said, he's going to trust his doctors, and hopefully he can get to the point where he can play. And I remember that was the Jim Donovan game, right? Mm-hmm. That was the Baltimore Ravens. That was the amazing come from behind victory and all of it that went into that day. And he took a shot from Derrick Henry, and it was scary at the time, but I don't think anybody thought it was going to get to this point that it has gotten to. And it's sad. JOK is an unbelievable player. A couple of years ago, over 20 tackles for loss, over 100 tackles, one of three linebackers who were off-ball linebackers who accomplished that in the last decade. The others were Levante David and Luke Kuechly. He was on his way to being, one of the most dominant and impactful off-ball linebackers in the National Football League. He was the best player on the field in the Browns' playoff loss to Houston. Even though they came up short, he stood out as being, the most dominant guy on the field. And this is a young man that's gone through a lot in his life: the tragedy, the loss of his brother just a couple of years ago, or maybe just over a year ago now. And it really bums me out for him. He is somebody who is so much more than a football player, though, and I think we will really get to see that in this phase of his career as we're kind of in this holding pattern. We know he won't play in 2025. We don't know about 2026 yet, but Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, an incredible young man who matured and grew up right in front of our eyes, and he's a special player. He's a guy that I found my interviews with him to be unique, really, amongst all the players that I've ever interviewed. He just looked at the world very differently, very mature, wise beyond his years, and, kind of had his own, what I would call, unique perspective on a lot of things, and somebody that just was a special guy. He'll be missed certainly for what he can do on the field, but I love that he said he's going to be very much involved off the field with his teammates. We know Coach Tarver, who we have a great affection for, absolutely loves Jeremiah. And here's something just I'll share with people that, and I think Tarver may have said this on Friday. I don't remember if he said to us off air or on air, was that, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah probably knew he wasn't playing, came back, did the full off-season workouts, and in the meetings, he was the first guy to answer everything and had everything correct.
Yeah.
So this is somebody who, even though this has been kind of ripped from him, was still putting in the work to be the best that he could be, at least in what he could control, which was the mental aspect of the game. It's just incredibly impressive young guy. It's very sad for Browns fans. And, you're looking at a linebacker room now, with Jordan Hicks and Devin Bush and Schlesinger. And then I think that's Jerome Baker, who's got a lot of those movement skills that JOK had, the former Buckeye. So you still have a good linebacker room, but he's irreplaceable because he kind of really is one of one at his size, his movement skills. He was a unicorn, and he's going to be missed. There's no doubt.
He was, he was having an all-pro caliber season last year when this happened. I mean, that's kind of, and he'd been building towards that, and he was in the middle of that when this injury happened. It has been so quiet for so long, and usually with these type of things, the longer and quieter it is, the more that you're concerned, right? I mean, you've been around sports long enough. Sure. That's usually the way that those things go. The thing with him, buddy, that is, it felt like everything that he said was so purposeful and so measured. I just really have enjoyed the conversations I've had. He's just a really enlightened dude, and all of that is as big a win as you can get in terms of what's he going to do with the rest of his life, and if this is indeed it. And I obviously think at this point you'd have to think that it's in play that it is. But the on-field stuff, he was such. There just aren't many players on the planet that can do what he does on a football field at that position. There just aren't. And that loss, you went over the linebacker room, and we wondered when the Schlesinger pick happened. I said, and I know they said that wasn't related, and I know they love Schlesinger, but anybody would. He's that type of player. But at the same time, you wondered, like, boy, does that correlate there? And you have to wonder if potentially it did. You mentioned Baker as well, as that making sense. But on the football field, man, he was unbelievable the last 2 years that he played, and is somebody that I agree with you. I think he's irreplaceable on that side of things.
He is. I said he's one of one. He's a unicorn. Yeah. He's matrix-like movements, his ability to bend, get around blocks, to see things before they happen, the speed, the acceleration, because he was, quote-unquote, undersized at the position. Schlesinger is a 240-pound guy. Mm-hmm. Schlesinger is going to be, Jordan Hicks will be probably the Mike this year, and I bet Schlesinger will be the Will with him in a lot of our two linebacker sets. But Schlesinger is the Mike of the future. And there is no replacing Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah because he is unique. He was, I really believe that. He was a one of one in the way in which he played the position, the way in which his body moved, his speed, his acceleration, the way he's able to diagnose things. So it's a massive loss. And you're right. He was on pace for another season of over 100 tackles and 20 tackles for a loss last year. So, yeah, he was right there. And it's sad. It's one of those people that kind of, at their peak as they are really ascending into what I think, would have been a perennial megastar in this league. Unfortunately, it's been taken away from him, at least for 2025, and obviously we have to acknowledge the possibility that it could be beyond as well. Yeah,
you mentioned that story from Tarv, how he's been at all the involuntary stuff. I do wonder, like, now that there's probably a relief for him to say this out loud, and then you can deal with that, like, fully. Maybe he's kind of thought this was the case for a while now, but now you can deal with that fully and decide what you want, the next year to look like. And that will be fascinating. Yeah. I'm curious how much he'll be around.
I think he'll be around a lot, because I think that's part of it is, I think that's good for his mental health. I think he will be around a lot. I think he'll be a presence, in this community with this team and in his home community as well. Because he is somebody that a lot of what he did wasn't just about football. Think about just the way that he wore his traditional garb to every game to bring attention to that. So he is somebody who's thinking from a very worldly perspective and knows that he still has a platform to share a lot of the things and wisdoms and his culture and all of that he did before. So I think he'll still be very much around. It's just unfortunate. You think for the Browns, 2 years ago it was Nick Chubb, and we don't know what his time is in the league, but it appears Andrew Berry saying it's more and more unlikely that he'll be back with the Cleveland Browns. And then, last year it's Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, guys that you thought really were going to be, fixtures. If you said who are the 5 most important Browns, that's 2 of them. And unfortunately, you're not going to get to see them in Jeremiah's case for any team in 2025. And for Nick Chubb, sounds like if he does play, it will be elsewhere.
I mean, the injury stuff we've had here is pretty. I mean, Deshaun, with all of the injuries that he's had. I mean, there's so many.
Of course.
Just critical injuries to the most important players, and everybody's dealing with it. But it does feel like we've been hit, specifically bad here in the last few years with this injury stuff on that side of things. All right, so we did get the update in terms of the schedule. We had thought that this would be the case, but now official. The Browns will host the Minnesota Vikings Week 5 in London at Tottenham Stadium. That will be an October 5th game, 9:30 in the morning. The Vikings are going to do something that we've not seen before, which is they're going to play 2 overseas games back-to-back. So they're going to play the Steelers in Dublin on the 28th, and then they're going to play us on the 5th in London. So they'll just stay over there. My hunch is they would just treat this like East Coast teams going to the West. You just stay out there and treat it that way. So I understand that from Minnesota's standpoint. What do you make of the matchup? What do you make of the time of year and the fact the opponent will have already been there for a week?
I don't like that. I don't like the fact that they'll have been there and been acclimated to it, and that will be their routine. I don't like that at all, as a matter of fact. That's a 6-hour, time difference. I don't like that at all. In fact, if you go historically, the times, there have only been 2 times where a team has stayed overseas and played another back-to-back games. It was the Jags in 23 and the Jags in 24, and both of those in the second leg of those trips, they blew people out. So historically, it has been an advantage to the team that has stayed there for 2 weeks. So I don't like that from the Browns' perspective. One thing that I think is fascinating that it is going to be the Vikings again, which is a rematch of the only time the Browns have played in London, which was back in 2017 when I made my first ever appearance in the broadcast booth, calling alongside Jim Donovan against the Minnesota Vikings. And then the other thing that I think is crazy about it is, if you happen to be a Vikings fan who lived in Cleveland, I'm pretty sure I have this right. I don't know if G-Man can look this up. I think he cannot. But if somebody could look this up, I'm pretty sure the last time the Vikings played in Cleveland in the regular season would have been 2009, because they're on an 8-year rotation. So it would have been 9 to 17 and 17 to 25. And so you missed, because I don't think we've matched up with them. Maybe we have recently, but it's escaping me. I don't think so. I don't think we've matched up with them
here.
Kind of in that, because that's only recent that they added the 17th game. So I don't think we've played the Vikings in Cleveland since 2009, which is very strange.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. Not since we'll get the MIT kids on it. I don't think we have. So it's been the longest time since that's been the case.
Yeah, it's just weird that it was the Vikings again.
It was, yeah. Now, we played at the cricket ground last time, right? Wasn't it? Or the rugby stadium? Where did we play last time?
Rugby stadium, yeah.
Rugby?
Twickenham.
Okay. So you're going to get Tottenham, which is state of the art. Yeah, that won't be the case this time around.
Radio booth this time. I think I'll have a radio booth. I think we might have monitors. Last time we were literally in the crowd with the people, no monitors, just there. It was actually incredibly wild, but an unbelievable experience, and certainly one I'll treasure, and I'll certainly be thinking of Jim when we go back over there for Browns Vikings in London Part 2.
2009, Z, you are correct.
Yeah, that's crazy. Think about that. That's craziness that it's been chosen once every 8 years. The Browns have gone to London, and on those 8 years, it happened to be the NFC North, and it happened to be that they picked the Minnesota Vikings.
Jeez,
that's wild.
Our London bureau.
You won't see the Vikings here.
Yeah, no, not till.
I was gonna say if we don't match up with them till 2033. But we could match up with the extra game and get it that way.
The our London bureau chief Paul Brown is already getting things organized.
Yes,
he's
got.
Paul
Brown's all over it.
He's all over it.
He's had this for a while. He's
on the know. He's in the know.
But
he was saying karaoke Thursday, bar crawl Friday, Browns backer party Saturday night, and start drinking Sunday morning.
I think with him, it's as soon as you land in England, the drinking begins. I think as soon as you land.
I think that's right.
You're on.
Pretty sure that there was a plane full of our employees that had that same.
Hey, what do you got to do? What are you doing now? You doing photos? Where are you going?
I got to go, Jet. Yeah, we got the photos were fantastic. Amanda Ellis Photography, if anybody needs any, bump photos, as I would call it.
I guess those are free for you now.
A wonderful experience. I'll document that for you. I'll share with you guys tomorrow. It'll be really glorious. But it's been amazing. It really has been.
Now, you remember what I asked for?
I remember what you asked for.
Okay.
I've done all my parts. I've done everything that I needed to do.
All right, buddy.
Don't you worry.
Have a good day. Thanks for hopping on.
Talk to you guys. Thanks, brothers.
All right, there he goes. The great Z joining on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland.
So, a couple things from this regarding our trip across the pond.
Yeah.
I almost feel like, and I don't know, because I have not seen anything outside of this game. It has been very tight-lipped. If someone has a copy in this building, I am not privy to it. I would have to think that is too early for a bye week the following week.
Well, you wouldn't want one.
You wouldn't want that.
I don't think.
Which means you're flying home and then having to play.
Well, I wonder if they could do something where you flying home and playing on a Monday.
Maybe. I just wonder.
Get you that extra day.
Yeah. I was hoping
got
selfishly
too many damn
for a
teams.
bye week so I could stay over there, but I
I don't think that's happened.
I
There's
don't think
100. I mean, we got 100 international games. I know we'll talk about them later in the show, but there's so many games over there. They're not going to be able to make it whole for all these teams.
Yeah. And then the other question is, the Vikings the Vikings have a history of wanting to go over there early. I can remember in 2013, it was my first game. It was in Minnesota. They were leaving the next day. They were leaving on Monday morning and flying to London. That's when you spent the entire week. And Minnesota has a history. Like when they played us in 17, they were there. They were there for quite a few days. And I wonder what Coach Stefanski's plan will be for us from a travel standpoint. You could go.
What do they do? What do they do? And I know that there are a lot of travel agencies that put packages together and all of that. What is that like from because you've done this before. What is it like from a traveling fan perspective? Is it, hey, let's just do London as a tourist and then let's go to the game on Sunday? Or do they do a lot of things? What does the NFL do, if anything, now at this point when you're playing this many games overseas? There's like feels like a half dozen London games. That's not it, but there's a lot. Do they do something, or is it now like old hat and let's just play the game and let's go?
No, it's a whole celebration still.
Is it?
There's a festival. There's tons of stuff to do. There's alumni signings and autographs, and I know our travel partners are going to be announcing those travel packages when the rest of the schedule comes out tomorrow, if they haven't already. I haven't seen it today, but
yeah.
I could be wrong on that. But no, it is still an event to go over there. And the number of people, I think the thing that is stunning to me when we went in 17, every team is represented in that stadium. People are wearing jerseys from every team. They're just excited to have NFL football.
Yeah, and they're going to get a lot of it. I mean, you got – I know we'll get into the specifics of this, but there's – what is it, 4? 4 London games?
4 London, 2 Germany.
3 London.
1 Spain.
Yeah, 3 London and then the Dublin.
So and then we got
2 at Tottenham,
Brazil, and
Wembley, and then Madrid, Berlin, and the rest of them. So
yeah, I mean, it's a lot, and I think the ultimate goal in the NFL, and I think Commissioner Goodell wants every team 1 game a year to be played overseas.
Yeah,
in various cities all over the world. I mean, that's been his. He's talked about that at the Super Bowl. He's talked about that before the draft. That he wants every team to have to play overseas every year. So every week there would be an overseas game, potentially.
Yeah. All right.
Great.
So we need
it's a lot of
to.
travel.
All right. You guys got to get you guys locked in. We got to go. We got to get our dining locked in. Places you guys need to eat. I'd like to see you guys eat at the Fat Duck. I think that feels like a win for you guys. I want you there.
The other problem is getting around London.
Not if you have we have the intrepid Paul Brown. That guy might have a chopper.
I mean,
chopper in, chopper out.
I can tell you that was the most frustrating thing because we stayed at the England rugby headquarters. The team did.
Yeah.
But the rest of us stayed at the JW Marriott downtown.
Okay.
It was it was 5 miles away. It was 2 hours on a bus there and 2 hours on a bus back. And on game day, now this will help playing at Tottenham now. It's closer to downtown. It's closer to the airport. But I can remember the team taking 3 hours to get from the stadium after the game to the airport because there's no motorcades allowed. The only person that gets a motorcade is the king.
That's it.
So I remember on game day, we had to go like 6 hours before kickoff.
Jeez.
To beat the traffic.
I'd probably just Uber rather than the bus. It might be quicker.
Yeah.
Assume they have that there. Yeah, Paul Brown actually reporting that they've cut back on the NFL UK in London. In the old days, they closed streets with NFL events. Now it's more of the fans running events. So they've trended away from those big NFL.
All right, so it's changed dramatically since.
Yeah, well, it's been a while since we've been. I mean, it's been 8 years, and you play that many over there. It's kind of an interesting thing. Did you see this? What's going on in Cincinnati today? I know we got Bender coming up in a second, but I'm just seeing this from Mike Petraglia, who's been on the Bengals beat for a long time. Like, Trey Hendrickson is at Bengals camp.
In golf attire.
And he just did a session with the media.
Yeah.
We're just not seeing eye to eye on the structure. Graciously appreciate a chance to negotiate behind closed doors, but he was assured that a deal would be reworked if he continued to produce. He feels the team has gone back on that, all while on the Bengals practice facility grounds.
Yeah, he claims that Zach Taylor called him a month ago and said if he didn't come to these, he would be fined.
Wow.
That's a problem.
That's not. You can't do that. These are involuntary. You can't fine for this.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's really interesting. I'm going to see if I can't pull some audio from
Yeah, that's an interesting one with as he's going for some leverage there. Look, it was a newsy Monday. You had all the NBA stuff. There's conspiracy theories running amok with that. And then, of course, the sad news for us about JOK that he's not going to play in 2025 and that he's not saying this, but I think you can connect dots that the career could be in jeopardy for Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who is nothing short of pure joy to watch on the football. And I can assure you, having met the man as we have and know him a little bit, he's a better person than he is a player, and that's saying a lot because he's a hell of a football player. So that was big news yesterday on that side of things. We thank Z for joining as well. Those are your hot topics of the day, presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. He was at rookie minicamp. We saw him. He's the great Bill Bender of the Sporting News, and he is going to join us coming up next. We are off and running on a Tuesday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Back in Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time to head on that Twisted Tea hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. He is our great friend Bill Bender of the Sporting News, and he joins us there. He was at rookie minicamp. We were able to embrace and see you there, pal. Obviously, I'd never seen anything like what happened here at rookie minicamp with upwards of 60 players involved. I thought it was awesome that you got real football for both quarterbacks. What were your impressions of what you saw Friday, and have you ever seen anything quite like that?
No, and I've been up to a couple Browns rookie mini camps, and the vibe was different. I think, I talked to Zagura yesterday about this. We had a phone conversation about the whole word circus, and it wasn't that. It was a business-like rookie mini camp with the live reps portion, which after you and I talked, went over and checked some of that out. It looked good and fun and competitive. And, as far as the business of the NFL side, obviously all the cameras, not all of them, most of them were pointed at two quarterbacks we're going to talk about. But it was a good vibe for the Cleveland Browns.
Did either of those guys – did either of them look like where they were drafted? Because I remember Baker's, and there's some misses. Neither one of those – Shedeur had the one rep. This is going all the way back to Friday. He got better as the weekend went along, but all the way back to Friday, he had the one rep where he kind of mishandled the snap and just kind of threw it. But other than that, I didn't see a ball even – I'm not sure if a ball hit the ground on Friday, Bill, from either guy.
No, they both looked sharp. And, I think for Dylan Gabriel, the questions about his height continue. And you can't control that. You can only control how you play out there. And he looked under control. There was one play with him, the pocket collapsed, and he kind of squeezed out and ran out in the open field. I was like, okay, yeah, I remember that at Oregon and Oklahoma and UCF because he's played a ton of football. And Shedeur has played a lot of football. I think it's hard from media standpoint. Yes, we're going to gravitate towards Shedeur. There's no doubt. And he looked sharp. He looked on point. I watched that red zone 7-on-7 drill. I thought he looked awesome in that. And wasn't there Saturday, but from what I heard from the interview portions, both guys did well there. So it creates the most dominant storylines going into OTAs in the preseason is this Browns quarterback room and all four guys in it.
Let's start with Dylan. You mentioned, because there's a lot of, you watch him, and if he was in a number 8, and if it was in green or in crimson, you'd look at it and you go, it looks exactly the same. All the stuff that he did in college. And I do think there's a correlation. The NFL game has moved towards the college game more than it probably at any point in the history of college football in the National Football League. And when you watch him, he just looks so comfortable in all of it. And as someone such as yourself who's seen so many of his games, what did the Browns get in him?
First of all, high-quality character guy.
Mm-hmm.
You saw that when I got to spend some time around him at Big Ten Media Day at Oregon, in Indianapolis, because the question was, could Oregon come into the Big Ten right away with this guy and have success in the Big Ten? And they did. I mean, I've been pointing this out for a while, and you know that I cover college football. Dylan Gabriel beat Ohio State and Michigan in the same season. And the last guy to do that in the Big Ten, you have to go all the way back to, it was technically, Kirk Cousins in some ways. Kirk Cousins and Connor Cook, although Connor Cook was hurt when Michigan State started a different guy. So my point being, it doesn't happen often that you have a guy that goes and beats Ohio State and beats Michigan. And I know they lost the Rose Bowl rematch, and that tape is what you want to watch if you want to be critical of Dylan Gabriel. But, he wasn't playing defense in that game.
No, he was not playing defense in that game. It was far from his fault on that. In terms of Shedeur, look, this kid, I for the folks who, and I understand there's a portion of our audience who just consumes the NFL and does not love college football. I've tried to explain the Colorado phenomenon. It's a hard thing because we don't have a lot of examples of it in history, of a situation of a program that was, I think, at the time Deion took the job, Bill, I think it was the worst spot of any Power 5 team in the country. Truly, I think they were that bad, and I think they were in that big of a hole. And to immediately become kind of that first month, that year one, the darlings of college football, and then last year to be on the precipice of the playoff, to be right there late in the season, tells you how far they came so quickly, and he was at the center of all of that. Obviously, the pre-draft process did not go well for him. That's how he ends up in the 5th round. But if you watch him and you have no idea where he's picked, he definitely does not look like a 5th-round pick. What were your impressions of what he did on the field when you saw it with your own eyes? And then were your impressions of how he's handled everything since he's been here?
Okay, so let's start with Colorado. 2 weeks left in the season last year, there was a path for them to the college football playoff. And nobody thought that was possible when you go back and look at Colorado with, other than 1 year with Mike McIntyre, they were very bad. And between Jackson State and Colorado, high touchdown to interception ratio, high completion percentage, got beat too. Got like a lot of sacks, like just getting, the pressure and getting hit and standing in there. Now, so the first thing that jumped out, Bo, and I don't know if it did to you, he's big. He looks like an NFL quarterback in terms of the size part of it. He threw the ball, got it out on time, and he's very accurate. So if the arm strength comes into play, I mean, I don't know how to measure arm strength with NFL quarterbacks. I can't. You can see it and you can feel it, but I thought he looked all right. I think talking to Nathan yesterday, question becomes playbook, terminology, under center, and then getting out of the huddle and adjustments, and what's the learning curve there. And I think that might take some time, but Nathan had a great point. And I know he probably said it on this show, if he were the number 2 pick, and we were talking about this week after rookie minicamp, Cleveland radio would be nonstop Shedeur talk.
We were standing on the sidelines at that point. You weren't with us at the time, but he and I walked out to the sidelines, and Siciliano was with us, and we were kind of just talking. And we said that on Friday, that if you didn't know where these guys were picked, and if you took either one of them 2 overall, Gabriel, the size thing is noticeable right away, and so that would be an outlier to see that. But he's been that height the whole time he's been at this high level, so he's used to it, and we'll just see what happens at the NFL level. But Shedeur, especially because of the size, because of the build, and the throws that he makes, and folks, he can make every throw. If I were to tell you that's the number 2 pick in the draft, you wouldn't have batted an eye, Bill. That was my takeaway.
Correct. And being around the other Browns beat reporters and kind of taking in what they had to say about the pre-draft process, that's kind of the vibe I got. There's a lot to learn. And, here's where it will get to me is as we get into August, do they carry all 4 quarterbacks? And once Shedeur gets to the point where he's pushing, if he actually makes a push to start, then the attention will really start, because he is a rookie quarterback beyond everything that he's done. Can he have success at a place where they've started 7 quarterbacks the last 2 seasons?
Yeah.
So to me, if somebody asked me today, is Shedeur going to start at some point this year? The odds-on answer would be probably, yeah. I think he'll get a shot at some point.
So the other thing that is top of mind today is the NFL schedule, and the one thing that I fight constantly down in the mornings in Columbus is that the NFL and college football ought to get into a room and say, how can we best serve our fans to make sure that everybody can consume all of this? So 2 things have changed in the last 5-6 years. Number one, college football decided that they're going to go with an expanded playoffs. We had 12 teams last year. We all know in college football we're going to 16 by the time we get to 2026. One more year at 12 and then 16. The NFL has decided to play games on Black Friday, on a bunch of Saturdays, on Christmas Day, all of these things, because their television partners all demand all of these things. When I see college football quarterfinal triple header on December 20th, and Goodell did this last year too. He did it with Ravens Steelers, and then he did it with the second game that day was the Chiefs and the Texans, and he's doing it again this year. And it's Commanders and Eagles, and it's Bears and Packers. So he's playing the hits. Why can't the NFL and college football come to some agreement where the fans win and you can consume all of this stuff? And why is that such a big ask, Bill? I cannot for the life of me understand it.
The basketball comparison would be if Adam Silver put Celtics Cavs at noon on the first day of March Madness.
Be like if he started the playoffs. Bill, it'd be like if he started the playoffs during March Madness.
Yeah, game 1, Cleveland, Indiana, during 12:15, Michigan State and USC, whatever. I covered that game a few years ago. It's gross.
Mm-hmm.
As a guy, and I'm a guy. I think you and I are alike on most things anyway, but on this one too, that we love college football, we love the NFL. It's okay to love both. I do. Cover one more than the other, but I hate it that there's a possibility that Ohio State could be playing, whoever, Tennessee during the Green Bay Bears game.
Right.
And that's just, it's not right. And I think the college football needs to compress their playoff calendar.
Yeah.
They need to start it earlier. They probably need to start the season a week earlier.
Yep.
So we can compress this thing down to January 10th, because I know we had Ohio State. I always say this. I think I've said it on your show. Ohio State and Notre Dame were playing on Labor Day, or a national championship game. And those are two of the biggest brands possible. And the first 3 segments on, sports TV that morning were Bills and Ravens fallout.
Oh, yeah.
From the AFC divisional playoffs. And I just don't think it's wise to go head-to-head against the NFL postseason.
I agree, and I also think it's not wise for the NFL to undercut the best minor league in the history of the world. Shedeur Sanders has the number 1 selling jersey in the NFL. Why? Because he's a known commodity. When we drafted Baker, when we drafted Johnny, they had the number 1 jerseys in the NFL. Why? Because you all knew who they were. This isn't the NBA where, other than last night where you get Cooper Flagg, the majority of the time you don't even know these guys you're drafting. I mean, the number 2 pick in the NBA draft and the 30 pick are going to be 2 kids from Rutgers that didn't even make the tournament. Nobody really knows who they are. That's not the case in the NFL. You're getting Joe Burrow ready-made if you're Cincinnati. He's a ready-made star. Everybody knows who he is. To me, college football, yes, and I've laid out my plan for this a bunch. College football's got to start a week earlier. They can be done by the first Monday in January after New Year's Eve. That's very easy. Play the semifinals on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Very easy. Get it compressed. But at the same time, the NFL, in exchange for doing that, the NFL ought to give college football those Saturdays in December. That, to me, that should be a fair trade.
Easy compromise too, because I didn't watch a play of City Houston last year. I think I was between driving, getting ready for that Ohio State Tennessee game, and Texas and Clemson was on, and didn't watch much of the Steelers Ravens game either. But not because I didn't want to. I want to watch those games because they're important to the playoff race, and I think like you said, the NFL really take a step back there. And I know we're all excited about the schedule. I like the schedule release. I was in a meeting this morning at Sporting News, and there are mixed opinions about it, how they do it, but I actually enjoy it. I think it's cool to see it for the first time.
Yeah.
I think the NFL, you know what I said, Bo, as a Green Bay guy, a fan, I said the 2 things I look for with the schedule are, 1, I hope they're not playing on the holidays.
Yeah.
Because I don't want my in-laws to witness my behavior during this game. And 2, I wasn't mad that the Vikings got 2 games overseas. They can have 2 in Europe. That's fine. I never want Green Bay to play over there.
No, I know you do not. Hey, you mentioned all of the things we have similar. Your son, he wears 32 in basketball, right? Did I see that right?
Yes.
My oldest wears 32. My oldest wears 17 in lacrosse, and I thought I saw over the weekend your son wears 17 in lacrosse.
So he does, and it's a funny story. He, Green Bay, again, he was a Devontae. So he likes Cleveland sports. He likes the Guardians. He likes the Cavs.
Yeah.
And he likes the Packers. So it's a little bit of a mix. And so he was a Lindor guy. Lindor got traded. He was a LeBron guy, obviously. LeBron's gone.
Right.
Maybe he comes back. Who knows? And he was a Devontae Adams fan. So I was like, that's sports. At least you understand that. But they, you know what? They had a really good weekend of lacrosse.
Nice.
Made the semis in the middle school tournament. Got beat by a Cincinnati school that was really tough. But as you know, as somebody that's on those lacrosse fields a lot in the summer and the spring.
Yep.
And it's catching on in Ohio. It is. I don't just say that as because my kid's playing it. You can just see it.
Oh yeah. It's changed a lot. Has he watched Young Guns with you yet?
Yeah. He's gotten through one. We've got to watch two.
Mine did the same.
Because we've been running so much. We haven't got to two yet. And
did he like it?
But he can quote a few lines off that. Oh yeah. Oh come on, Bo. Of course he liked it. He likes Young Guns. He likes Top Gun. We got through. We're Gladiator. He enjoyed as well, which was really good. But I watched Gladiator 2. Didn't like it as much. He hasn't seen that one with me yet.
Was he surprised that you could still recite every line from Young Guns? Because mine was surprised I could still recite the whole movie.
Right. Well, and then we did Tombstone when Val died.
Yeah.
So he was getting annoyed that I was like
all these westerns.
Val Kilmer's lines before they happened. He was getting mad that I was like quoting or Russell and Val before it happened. He goes, "Dad, can you let me watch the movie?"
All right, buddy. Good catching up with you as always, my friend. Be well.
I will. No problem. Thanks for having me on.
All right, there he goes. The great Bill Bender, the Sporting News, joining us on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. A lot going on in the sports world last night. It was chock full. We'll go and get you up to date on all of it. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. It's presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Cycle accident caused you injury. Call their injury lawyers at 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk & Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Sports World had a lot going on. The Dallas Mavericks had a 1.8% chance of winning the NBA draft lottery, and they did so.
But when it's rigged, you always have a chance.
We were on a text chain last night. I went straight. I think that's obvious, clearly. They traded Luka, okay? They traded Luka to L.A. without opening up the bidding.
Correct.
Now, even as I go into conspiracy, Bo, I acknowledge that it feels like it's impossible to do something like this, to rig a lottery. It feels like the amount of and I remember the various stories from the folks who've been on the Cavs beat through the years of the various, and the Cavs have won it a lot. But the times the Cavs have won the draft lottery and like everything that goes into it, because there were the same people who, when LeBron left and we won the draft lottery and got Kyrie the next time around, and it was like, well, that's rigged. And so there was that. There's been talk of it being rigged for Patrick Ewing in 1985 with a frozen envelope. LeBron, when he came here the first time to keep him home, we went over that sliding doors moment between Memphis and the Cavs when they got LeBron. The fact that Chris Paul left the Clippers or left New Orleans, they traded him to the Clippers, and then New Orleans wins the draft lottery that gets him Anthony Davis. Then they trade Anthony Davis to the Lakers, and then they win the draft lottery that gets him Zion Williamson. And now you have Luka traded and Dallas winning it. So
funny how that works.
It's a crazy look. It's a truly crazy look.
It's not a great look either.
You're sick for Washington and Charlotte and Utah. Do you know in their history Utah has never moved up in the draft?
Yeah.
They've never moved up. Not once.
You're in Utah. That's why.
I guess. From the league perspective, it feels like kind of a home run to have him in. Like, it's a great market. It's a winning franchise, new ownership. So, there's a little bit of that. But
same not so great GM.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to, though, they could trade him. I mean, they could trade him for Giannis if Giannis is available. If Milwaukee wants to make him available.
Kind of sounds like Giannis would like to be available.
Well, he's not. He's open-minded to it, was the reporting,
yes.
Which is, I'm open-minded to having pizza for dinner tonight. I don't even know what open-minded means, but he's open-minded. So Dallas wins it. Then San Antonio's second. So 1, 2, 3 all moved up. And the teams that were supposed to pick there, Charlotte, New Orleans, and Washington, all moved out. The Spurs would be the one I'd be watching for a trade, right? Young Brock shaking his head. That, to me, they're sitting there at 2 overall. Like, if I'm them, do I need to add – like, Wemby's ready to go. I would – and they have a ton of ones, too, and a bunch of, 5 future ones in the next few years. A 1 and then the 2 pick, does that net you – like, are they the team that goes after Giannis?
Sure. Yeah, could it become a fire sale in Milwaukee?
Yeah, I mean, it's for what's left. I mean, because Dame Doll is out probably all next year because he has an Achilles.
So I guess he has a basketball camp. Is that right?
Who does?
Brock told me he has a basketball camp, Lillard, like a youth, like a kid's camp. And it's a picture of him, and there's no logo on any of his stuff. Now, that could be because there's some kind of copyright issue or something, conflict of interest with the team, but him not wearing any of his Bucks stuff and no mention of Milwaukee Bucks is a little eyebrow raising. I thought it was amazing. Like every NBA player last night on social media, Kyrie Irving, 1.8% laughing emoji.
Yeah. Tristan
Thompson, I believe I had this.
Yeah.
Like everybody knew.
It's crazy. If you're a hint, like he will do well on the field, on the court, and off in Dallas. It's about as big a win, I think, as you could get. Like if you think of the teams in the mix, cities to live in, Dallas, Philly, maybe you'd rather go to San Antonio and play with Wemby, but sure. Dallas is a better city than San Antonio, for sure. So that's a big win for him either way. The other thing that happened in the association last night was the Knicks defeating the Celtics. They go up 3-1. Were you watching when the Tatum injury happened?
So I didn't watch any of it last night. I was first night to actually get some stuff done around my house. I was out in the yard working till late, and I just kind of came in and crashed, and then this morning found out all that went down with Celtics.
We
and Knicks.
got home. Beamsy had a lacrosse game. The other two had practice. By the time I got home from that, I flipped it on. It was in the fourth quarter, competitive game. I think the Knicks are going to win anyway, quite honestly. They were going to win anyway. But I was watching when the Tatum injury happened. And, I mean, it looks like an Achilles. I don't know what else it could be. I mean, that's usually the reaction you get on an Achilles is the reaction that he had. Obviously, it feels like it's incredibly severe, and then that changes the trajectory not only of the series because, he's the best player in the series, arguably, but also kind of their trajectory as a franchise because now you're 1 year out. I mean, we're dealing with this with Deshaun now. Like, it's not until December of 2025 when he can start to begin doing anything, but it won't be till January 26th, so the same would be true here. It's a full year on that for Tatum.
We have not seen a tremendous amount of success with players coming back in any sport from Achilles.
No, I mean
back,
it's you can.
Not been
Kobe did,
but
was not. But he was aging too. I mean, Tatum's still relatively young. Adrian Peterson's the best example of it going well, where he came back and then had a 2,000-yard season. So you can do it. But that's what that one looked like to me.
It's interesting. I didn't realize how long Jason Tatum has been in the NBA.
Yeah, since like 17 or 18, right?
I think it's longer than that.
16?
16.
16?
Yeah. He was with Grayson Allen at Duke.
He was a freshman.
Because Brock was like, don't you remember him? And I'm like,
you don't remember him at Duke?
No.
Really?
No.
Well, I remember him mostly because the Lakers picked Lonzo Ball over him.
Yeah, I remember him being at Duke, but nothing earth-shattering, and part of it probably was the fact that Grayson Allen was there.
He was he ended up going third. He's only 27. He only ended up going third in that draft. He did have a foot injury. That's right. He missed the first part of that season. So he had that foot injury, and then he was really good the rest of the way.
He averaged almost 17 a game in college, 7 rebounds, 2 assists.
Yeah.
I'm like, did they have a quick exit that I don't remember? Maybe.
Who went first in that draft? Lonzo went second. 2016.
Brock's looking it up.
I got it for you. Ben Simmons.
Oh.
No. That's 16. Hold on. That's 16 draft. He's in the 17 draft.
Is that Markelle Fultz?
Yeah. Yeah.
Woof.
So the Celtics in 16, they drafted Jaylen Brown. So it went.
Still trying to figure out how to shoot.
Ben Simmons went 1, Brandon Ingram 2 to the Lakers, and then Jaylen Brown went 3. That was 1, 2, 3 in 16, and then 2017 would have been the Tatum draft.
I guess I didn't realize he was that old.
Yeah. Yeah, just 27, but he's 8 years in the league. Yeah. So anyway, that was tough to watch. Feels like the Celtics will, and then we've got a Game 5 here tonight, obviously, which is critical. Donovan's going to play. I mean, we know that he's getting shots up, and he's going to give it a go.
I think they win tonight.
Yeah, I do.
Right?
They're not going to win 3 in a row, I don't think, but I do think they'll win
I don't
tonight.
know if you can do that. I just don't. It is clear they are not matching up well,
and they're not healthy.
The injuries are just.
We can have some fun with, hey, get out there and play, but like these are real issues. I mean, like you're talking about dislocated thumb for Hunter, and you think of, Darius is playing, but he obviously doesn't have his quickness that he normally has, and Mobley's limping around, so it's just bad luck, man. It's funny, I would say this, and I have no scientific evidence to back this up. I don't have Dr. Owusu here with UH, but I just am the amount of like catastrophic or borderline injuries that we're seeing in the NBA. I mean, it happens all the time. Durant with an Achilles not that long ago. We've had so many of these. Steph with a hamstring. Like, it's kind of like who can get to the finals healthy. Look at the 4 LeBron runs. How many of those were healthy? The first time around, it was him stand. Kyrie was done. Kevin Love was done. Like, they were all done for the year stuff. And we talked about this with Dr. Voos, one of the remotes we did out at UH. And one of the things we talked about was like tendons are tendons. Like all of these muscles are more fine-tuned than they've ever been, and you can't fine-tune a tendon. Just is what it is. And I do wonder if there's something to it because there is such a rash of Achilles issues in sports right now. It's crazy.
So here's my little conspiracy question. Speaking of conspiracies.
Yeah.
Are we seeing all these injuries in postseason because these guys have been on pitch counts for the entire last 7 months?
Well, I don't know. Could be. I mean, I think about that too.
Made it a point. Like we were going to, we're watching the minutes these guys are playing during the regular season games, and we're the goal is to maximize them in the playoffs. And then now all of a sudden you're asking them and their bodies to do a lot more, play more. And I know there's more days off in between and things like that, but is that a possibility?
I'll just say this, and again, not a doctor, nor did I go to medical school or even stay at a hotel near a doctor last night. But what I would say is it appears that there is no correlation between rest in the regular season, or in the case of the NFL, light rest in training camp, and not having injuries. It feels like it's the same, if not worse. Now, it's circumstantial because we're comparing it to the circumstances we're in, but I don't see anything in the data that leads me to believe we're healthier in the postseason now than we were 30 years ago in the NBA.
No.
Just don't. So, and the same thing with the NFL with all of the easing of all of the training camps and just wading into it, rest days, all of this. It doesn't seem to translate to healthier teams. Now, Campbell went the other way, and they had a rash of injuries at the end of last season in Detroit. So maybe just injuries happen now more than they did in years past. I don't know. I do stand by that theory, though, that the muscles are being trained at such a quick twitch rate and so often and not rested, the tendons can't handle them. That's my theory on the Achilles. Who knows if there's anything to it.
Yeah, it'll be fast. I mean, their franchise, everybody in Boston holding their breath here this morning.
Oh, my gosh, yeah, absolutely. Should be a fun one tonight at downtown, though. My hunch is that I'm with you. I think they take care of business.
By the way, the get-in price, intern Gabe, newly here, got a ticket for like $30 in the upper deck.
Dude, I'm telling you,
you can get in tonight for.
I'm telling you, I think that there is I got to choose my words carefully here. I think that because of LeBron, we're to the point, like the Cavs fan is to a point where, like, if you're not a championship contender, we're not interested.
Or you're not to, like, the conference finals.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, the tickets what was in 16, 17, those years when LeBron was here second time, you're not walking in the door for a game like this for $30. No chance. But there is this sense of like, okay, we're banged up and we're not going to win it anyway, so what are we going to show up for? You can sense that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you're a basketball fan, you can get into that game tonight.
Yeah, there you go. All right, second hour of the program coming up next. The NFL schedule madness is upon us. You get the full schedule release coming up tomorrow, but we have all the details on the games that have been released already, including all of the games in Europe. That is coming up next. Second hour of the program, Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Calendars following Wednesday's schedule release. The 72 hours only tickets purchased through the Browns' primary ticket marketplace will be fee-free, courtesy of Huntington National Bank. For offer details and to register to be notified when tickets go on sale, visit browns.com/tickets today. Seeing this in the last couple of minutes, the NFL today announced that YouTube will stream the Friday night Week 1 game of the 2025 season in Sao Paulo on September 5th to a worldwide audience on YouTube and YouTube TV, the first exclusive NFL game to be streamed live and for free in its entirety on YouTube. Somehow they act like that's a win for all of you. It's always like, it's a temporary win for you, but eventually it's going to cost you.
So I would assume that maybe that announcement will then lead to who the Chargers play in Week 1 in Sao Paulo.
How is it? I mean, it's Kansas City, right? Doesn't everybody know that? Everyone said
okay,
it like it's
I
fact.
I thought that was the case. There's been no formal announcement.
No, I know that.
And I think there was no formal announcement because of the fact they didn't have a deal done with YouTube.
Oh, you think that's it? It could be. But, yeah, everybody seems to know that it's Kansas City going down there.
I thought that we talked about that on the show.
How did it go? We'd have to talk somebody from Philly. Like, how did that go last year in Sao Paulo? Like, that game came and went. I don't even remember watching it that closely. I remember it was on.
I think both teams got in and got out as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I can't remember who they played. Who'd Philly play?
Green Bay. It was
going
to be us.
That's right. Yeah. It was one of those. It was like the second or third high school football Friday night, and I remember going to like our local high school game, and then it was going on. I watched the end of it when I got home, but I don't remember like seeking it out. So I don't know. They're doing a lot of it.
It was Peacock.
Was it Peacock last year?
It was Peacock because NBC had night 1 on Thursday night.
Yeah,
they have that to kick off the season, and then they had the.
That's right.
Because really, I think Peacock and NBC were the ones that were like, "Hey, we need a matchup."
Yeah,
like at that point, we didn't know who our quarterback was going to be. We didn't know if Deshaun was healthy or what the status was. So, I mean, I'm a firm believer that NBC stepped in and said, "We need something if we're going to put this on Peacock that is a known."
Because didn't they go? They went Thursday, Friday, Sunday.
Yes.
The first weekend.
Yeah.
And then the next Thursday they didn't.
Because I think it was
Sunday.
Noah Eagle. It was their
It
college
was Noah Eagle
crew.
and Todd Blackledge did it. Yeah, and Tirico did Thursday and Sunday. But Thursday was Collinsworth. Sunday was not. Thursday might have been Jason Garrett.
Yeah,
on the
that
call.
might have been.
I think Collinsworth did the opener, the Kansas City, whoever they played, and
it was a weather delay.
It was. Yeah, right.
In Kansas City.
Yeah. So you try to juggle all of those things. So you're going to we believe it'll be the Chiefs. Will be Chiefs Chargers in Sao Paulo on that Friday the 5th.
Again, it's a divisional game.
Yeah. Yep.
These divisional games that will be played in neutral sites, I can't imagine the home team or who is considered the home team is happy about giving up their home game against a divisional opponent.
No, and I cannot imagine. I just think the NFL is so bold right now in what it's doing with the schedule, and it's the behemoth, so it ought to be. So you've got that game on the 5th in Brazil. Then on September 28th, Vikings-Steelers, that game's in Dublin, so the Vikes will go over and play that game. Then they'll play us the 5th in London at Tottenham Hotspur. Then on October 12th, the Broncos and Jets are at Tottenham Stadium in London. And then on the 19th of October, they're at Wembley for Rams at Jaguars. And then Sunday the 9th, it is Falcons-Colts in Berlin. And then the 16th, it's Commies and Dolphins in Madrid at Santiago Bernabeu, the Real Madrid stadium, which is probably the most technologically advanced stadium on the planet.
Yes.
That place is unbelievable. So that'll be the first NFL game played there. That is on November 16th.
So they cut down. I thought there were 2 games last year in Berlin, and I thought there were 2 this year too, but there's only 1, obviously.
Well, last year, was it at Munich? Didn't they have one in Munich last year?
Yeah.
Hoff would know for sure, but I thought they had a Munich game last year, and this year they're going to Berlin. I don't know those stadiums. Obviously, Allianz is where Bayern Munich plays. That's in Munich, and I know that place is first class. I'm not sure about the Berlin situation from a stadium standpoint. Some other games that we know: on Thursday, September 4th, the league will kick off with Cowboys at Eagles, and then on November 10th, Eagles at Packers. That is an ESPN game that we know as well. Friday, that's Black Friday, November 28th. Bears at Eagles on Prime. Then Saturday the 20th, Eagles at Commies on Fox in the early one. And then it's Bears-Packers in the late game on that Saturday, December 20th. Then on Christmas, just the one game. Is that true, or there will be more?
There will be more.
Yeah, so right now it's just that Thursday nighter, which is Broncos at Chiefs.
Maybe not. I mean, it's Thursday night. I would think the NFL would take full advantage of a Thursday night.
There's a lot going on right now. If you missed my conversation with Bill Bender, I deal with this a lot in the mornings, and there needs to be a common sense. You scratch our back, we'll scratch yours between college football and the NFL, and it is absolutely. Does the NFL need to play December 20th on a Saturday? No. They don't. They don't need to do that. Does college football need to be crowning a national champion on January 27th, as they're going to do in 2027? No, they don't. You can compress that college football schedule. You stay out of the way of the NFL. Meantime, the NFL stays off of Saturdays in December, which allows for college football to have that time to crown its champion. And in exchange, the NFL has the best minor league system in the world, where ready-made stars come into your league, draftable and ready to go. So, to me, just some common sense there solves it.
That on December 20th, that's a triple header.
Yeah, I know. Oh, NFL, it's a triple header or just a double?
Oh, no, triple.
Oh, he added a third game because last year he only played 2.
Oh, yeah, nope, we're playing 3.
Oh, wow. So they're going head-to-head against college football.
Yeah, because
that Why are they trying to cut off the head of college football?
I don't know. And then the 27th, 2 days after Christmas, is Saturday Night Football on Peacock. Saturday Night NFL. So maybe hold on. I take that back. The 20th is a doubleheader on Fox.
So that is what they did last year. They played a doubleheader, and then Ohio State, Tennessee was.
So, yeah, right now that's a doubleheader on the 20th. Yeah. But the 27th, Saturday the 27th, Peacock, we had it yesterday, I think, on the show rundown. I don't know if we got to it, though. Peacock's got, in Week 17, a Saturday night NFL game on Peacock.
On the 27th?
Yeah. I think I still have the release.
All right. So the dates.
Yeah, the opponent's TBD, but.
All right. So college football is going to do their home sites. That first round home sites will all be on the 20th. So this is on college football too. They don't need to have this pushed back as far as it is. They can get going right away and solve a lot of this. So they're not going to play until they'll play the last weekend in December or first weekend in December. Then they're off until the 20th where they play the home dates. Then college football will go on 1 game New Year's Eve, 3 on New Year's Day in the quarterfinals. Then the playoff semifinals in college football are Thursday and Friday nights. Thursday and Friday night, January 8th and 9th. The national championship game is Monday, January 19th. And that's the one that Feinbaum always talks about. Like, everyone's talking about the divisional round. They're not even – it's Ohio State, Notre Dame, and no one's even prepping it because they're talking about the divisional round.
Yeah. So NBC did announce yesterday it will host a Week 17 streaming exclusive game on Peacock, which will put the game smack in the middle of the Christmas and New Year's holidays, Saturday, December 27th.
Yeah, I don't know. Just work together. You're the two most popular sports in the country.
No one works together anymore.
Like, just work together a little bit. Total miles traveled leaders are the 2 LA teams for the 25-26 season. The Chargers and the Rams. Rams 34,000 miles traveled for games. The Chargers 37,000 miles for games. How about the Bengals? Just 8,700 miles traveled for Cincinnati.
I think if we weren't going to London, we'd be
right
competing
there
with Cincinnati for that.
Yeah, because we're at 15,000, which is still bottom third of the league. We're when all things are considered. All right, there you go with your schedule, our full schedule. It's tomorrow, right? Tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock.
There you go. All right, we will Trey Hendrickson was down in Cincinnati. We will have some of that reaction for you for what was a pretty surreal day down there. We'll get that for you coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Find your fandom with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Download today. Get 50 back in bonus bets when you place your first wager of 10 or more. Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Pretty surreal day down in Cincinnati today. They're in involuntary workouts, and the way that their setup is, it's impossible to hide anything because if you've not seen this, it would be as if our guys practiced outside across the street from the stadium. So imagine like where the science center is. Imagine if we had a practice field there. And in order to get from our locker rooms in the stadium to the practice field, you had to cross the street. That's Cincinnati. Their stadium's in downtown. The practice facility's right next door. It's across the street, though. So it is impossible for a player to go from the locker room to the practice field and not be noticed, even if it's closed to the media. So they put these.
I don't know how they keep fans
petitions.
out.
I mean, it's crazy. My guess is like Cincinnati is just so used to it that they don't care about it because it's downtown. There's probably not a lot. I know there's not a lot of parking there, so maybe I don't know. But like every day you see them walking across, it's what they do. So today, as they're all, and Joe's down there throwing and all that stuff, you see Trey Hendrickson in street clothes walking from the stadium to the practice fields. Now, what we know is that he wants a new contract. We know that they've given him permission to seek a trade from other people. To this point, there has been no deal. So their long con in this was, we don't think there will be the interest in you nationally as you think that there is to pay you the $40 that Miles got. So go ahead, see what's out there, and we'll be here waiting when you come back. Hendrickson doubled down today. So you've got a bunch of the sound. He had a 23-minute media availability.
Correct.
Today.
I mean, in his golf attire. Looked like he was getting ready to hit the tee box at about 1 o'clock today.
Yeah, it's a lot going on.
He had released a statement yesterday saying there's been no communication.
Yes.
The Bengals have basically stopped talking to me, yada, yada. So he went on the offensive today, showed up at OTAs or the off-season workouts. T. Higgins wasn't there after being there all last week, but Hendrickson was there and afterward talked to the media. Mm-hmm. First question was, and this is from Joe Denneman of Fox down in Cincinnati, the narratives about him.
I can't control the narratives, right? I think that's one thing I've found through this whole process is the way I feel is not being conveyed, right? Like, I definitely am disappointed. I definitely love Cincinnati. So it's just this weird dilemma, right? And I think players go through it a lot more often. I'm just not going to let fear overtake me to do something and also give me a platform to glorify God in the good and in the bad. So, I'm very blessed. And so the perspectives I can't control. I'm a football player. I'm itching to play football.
Up next.
Yep.
Talking about the fines, I guess Zach Taylor had texted him and said, you're going to be fined. He clarifies this. It's for mandatory minicamp because you can't be fined for a voluntary camp.
Go ahead, yeah.
And this is the fines that he's talking about, and he's not very pleased with his head coach.
The fines that were communicated with me were talking about mandatory minicamp. Okay. That's why I said there was about 20 days until then. Okay. I didn't understand the purpose behind shooting me a text. We should have gone 25 days. But again, we can go through the process. I probably would have been upset a day before, an hour before, or 60 days ago. So I don't think there's any way that would have went well. So that was the unfortunate reason I'm here.
So he feels it was spiteful for Zach to send it that far out, something that he would probably already knew anyway, that I would be suspended. Okay. So the Bengals want to pay him what he's currently under contract to pay for, and then a shorter deal, and he wants a big long-term deal is kind of the gist.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
He did say every relationship is repairable, and he cited what happened up here in Cleveland with our own Myles Garrett.
I think every relationship is repairable, right? Like I think Myles Garrett proved that. He's a great man, and he's done great things for his family, and obviously providing on and off the football field, he's tremendous. But I think that relationship will repair with time, and same with this. This is just the uncomfortable business side that we've unfortunately had to deal with for the last couple years, and quite frankly, I think we're all spent.
Maybe. And then here's the long one. This is not seeing eye to eye, and this is what's going on in his talks with the Bengals.
We're just not seeing eye to eye on the
touchdown for now.
Seems that a shorter deal is something that they are pushing pretty hard. That puts us in the same place I was in 2022, where I have to renegotiate the next year, because if goals are the same and playing at a better level than I did last year, then next year we're just kicking the can down the road. So it's something where I think both parties should understand that a long-term contract that guarantees that know that I can continue to play at the level that I have been is a mutual respect where that's where my values lie, and it also allows me to stop having to negotiate every offseason about something that has been almost 4 years of doing.
Trey, are you willing to sit out regular season games? You feel like if it came to that, something you feel like you might have to do to try to, if it came to that, you can really do that?
Well, I can raise a hypothetical with a hypothetical. I wouldn't be standing here with you if I got the deal in January, So to say I'm going to sit out or to say I'm not going to, what I can say is I'm very disappointed with the communication that's been had. It's very... Former players have walked in these shoes, and what it foreshadows is not something that I'm excited about to tell my wife and family, like, hey, I'm getting good vibes, or should be happy. Those comments stink, and that's what makes this place so special, is that they watch me every day. They see how hard I work. There's no other organization knows me better than this one. They watch me an individual. They see how I carry myself as a human being, and they know me. So it stinks when the value somewhere else, because I was fortunate enough to have that trade request granted, whether it was 1, 2, 3 first-round picks, I had no idea. It gave me the fortunate circumstance to see my value elsewhere, and I'm hoping it doesn't come to that.
I think this is what's hard for fans in situations like this, and we dealt with this with Miles. And thankfully it all worked out. But Trey Hendrickson is under contract this year.
Yeah.
He signed on the line, which is dotted, and that deal was for 4 years and $60 million. The signing bonus was 10. It was 16 guaranteed at signing by the time that he signed it. So this isn't a 10-year-old contract. This is what it is now. I understand that NFL players have one chance at leverage, and it is usually right before the last year. So that's what he's trying to do, is leverage. And yeah, the market for somebody of his talent is far more than the 18.6 he's going to sign this year. But fans are saying, well, hold on a second. In my job, I can't just quit in the middle of it and say I'm owed more. What do you mean? You've signed the deal. You agreed to the deal. If I do that, they'll let me walk. Well, it's different. It's apples and avocados a little bit, in the sense that, this is a professional athlete and there's a premium on this. But I think this is why this stuff's hard for fans. It's hard for fans because fans if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, you just want all the best players that you've drafted or acquired to be on the field. And you're going to have Jamar Chase, you're going to have Higgins, you're going to have Burrow. My hunch is they get this done too, but it's one of those things where he's still under contract for this year. But so it's hard. That part of it, I don't know. There's no easy way to do this.
The problem I have and the pushback on that is, if indeed the Bengals promised him something, or promised him that they would redo it, and now they're, going back on that, maybe because they had to pay for the two wide receivers.
Well, don't you remember Jamar last year in camp when he was? Remember he would walk on and then leave?
Yep.
Not in gear, like he'd wear his street clothes and he'd leave. And then he said, they told me that they were going to get me an extension, and then they didn't. And he's like...
This is not the first time we're hearing about this. This is not the first
time, no. And they're notorious for doing this type of stuff and handling things in this way. But I do think at the same time, my hunch is this will get sorted out. And I bet they get a deal done that's at least... they're all in. They're as all in as can be.
This is it. Like it's a win now down there.
How old is Burrow's? Older than you think too. He's 28. He's still in the prime, of his career, obvioay. But
correct.
He is
would have been the MVP probably had they made the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. He'll be 29 in December. So it is right now time to go.
Yeah,
Higgins and Chase are in their prime. It's time to go.
If indeed the Bengals promised Hendrickson something, and then Hendrickson goes out and leads the NFL in sacks, and then comes back and says, all right, what are we doing?
Yeah.
In fairness, you're probably not going to get a long-term deal because $30 to $40 million a year, you can't do it. The Bengals can't do it with the other guys under contract. Mm-mm. So, yeah, you're going to get a short-term deal. It's going to be worth your while from a financial standpoint. It'll set And he's already, I would say he's probably already set up for life with a $60 million contract.
Right.
But I don't know. Right now it's voluntary. This wouldn't be a story. Just don't come. I'll see it mandatory minicamp.
Yeah, I think it's – I've never seen anybody do this. Like go to an involuntary minicamp and then –
hold a press conference. And now, did the Bengals PR staff set up the presser, or did he?
I guess he did, don't you think? He
I
just
would
walked
think.
over and started
I can't
talking.
imagine the Bengals want that.
No, I don't think they would want that. But that goes back to what I was saying. Because of their setup, you can't hide.
Yeah.
Like if that happened here and a player came here to get attention, say I want a new deal, and they went to practice, if the practice was closed, like today, are they practicing today? They practiced yesterday?
Yeah, they're Monday through Thursdays.
Monday through Thursday. But the practices are closed, right?
Correct.
The involuntary stuff. So, right, like you'd never know. But when you walk across a street, you can't hide.
You know. You
totally
know who's
know.
here and who isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. So that was some newsy stuff, certainly, to see what happened down there. One of the guys we paid very close attention to this past weekend was Mason Graham. He was the 5th pick in the draft. You will hear from him from the podium coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Add more fun to your fandom with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Download it today. Get 50 back in bonus bets. You place that first wager of 10 or more. Ballybet is official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Now time to head to the podium, presented by Vivid Seats. Purchase your official fan experience package today for the ultimate game day. The number 5 pick in the NFL draft. Defensive tackle out of Michigan, Mason Graham at the podium.
Mason, what do you think the message was delivered by the coaches? What are they looking for out of the guys?
Obviously, we just learned it. We just came in, so, they're making some mistakes, but, just want us to play hard and, try to learn the technique and the defense as best we can in this small weekend, and then we'll just pick right back up with the team when we get there.
Will you stay after minicamp or come back at a certain point?
Yeah, I'm going to stay.
What do you think anticipate maybe the biggest challenge will be from transitioning into the NFL for college?
I would just say that the play style. I feel like the Browns play a different play style than I played at Michigan, so kind of just adjusting to more of the attack front defense and, kind of more penetrating than, playing lateral, which I did in college.
I know it's early, but have you gravitated towards any of the vets kind of taking you under their wing, coaches, maybe even a fellow rookie?
Yeah, I haven't seen some of the vets. I saw Miles walking around or whatever. I think he was working out, but there's some other guys. We just signed Ralph. Ralph is here, so he's kind of been here since January, so he's kind of teaching me what he's seen since he's been here. But yeah, just the other rookies, all the guys here, and then just good to meet everyone.
Mason, the last time we talked to you, the draft obviously wasn't finished yet. These guys hadn't taken Shedeur Sanders, so what was your reaction to finding out he was going to be your teammate and just meeting him, your first impressions?
Yeah, he was cool. I met him the other day for the first time, and seems like a good dude, and it was all about ball. So I want to play with guys that are like-minded.
Mason, you don't seem like someone who cares about the fact that Shedeur is kind of stealing the spotlight here a little over the first-round pick of the football team. But what is your sort of response or reaction to the fact that he's kind of got all the media attention so far?
That doesn't really matter to me. I come to play football. If the media's on me, then they're on me. If the media's not, then it's not. I'm just going to do my job at the end of the day. But
I think you talked about meeting Jock, Coach Jock, throughout the process. What was that like, and how did you guys kind of form that bond that you talked about?
Yeah, it was really cool. Ever since I met with him at the Combine, and I can already see, the energy he has. He's a guy that has a lot of energy and always brings every day. So that's someone I want to play for. And then Coach Morris, too, the assistant D-line coach, he's helped me, too, just getting to know the basics and, just kind of getting it down and then come out here today and just put it all together.
You mentioned walking around and getting to see Miles. Has that kind of sunk in for you yet, that you're now playing alongside guys like that of that caliber?
Yeah, I feel like it'll sink more in, once I get to be on the field with him for the first time. But, yeah, obviously a great player and excited for that.
Mason, have you thought about how this scheme specifically could kind of unlock, another level for you in your play?
Yeah, Coach Jock always talks about taking the handcuffs off. I feel like, maybe in the scheme I was playing in before, I might have had handcuffs off, moving more laterally. But I feel like, Coach Jock and Coach Morris, this attacking front will help me and, unleash some new things in my game, and I feel like I can, be a great player in this scheme.
What more do you think can be unleashed in your game?
Just making more plays. In college I didn't have these crazy stat numbers, but I just feel like playing in this defense is, more penetrating, more attacking, more ability to make more plays.
It seems like generally your position used to be more of a be seen, not heard kind of thing on a stat sheet. How do you think that's evolving over time?
People get paid by making plays, so I feel like, that's what Coach Jock always talks about. He wants us, to get paid just like he wants to get paid. So we're all here for one job. We want to win, and, yeah.
What does that mean against the run? Like, when you talk about getting upfield against the pass, but, you and Kenneth were very good against the run at Michigan. So what changes are for you on that side?
I just feel like it's just a little bit of technique. It's just a different style. Obviously the same objective. You want to tackle the running back, create negative plays, turnovers, sacks, all that. But it just looks different, and I just need to get used to that.
Since you were drafted, have you spent time looking at film of the Browns defense from last year?
Yeah, I've been watching, just trying to get a grasp of what it looks like, when we're really in the fire. So, I've watched a few games, some cut-ups of just how the D-line plays, not watching anything in specific, but just kind of watching how they play and, how I can see myself envisioning that.
You went up against Dylan Gabriel last year. Just if you had a chance to catch up with him the last couple of days, and what was it like going against him?
Yeah, I feel like Dylan's, one of the guys, I came in here yesterday, and I feel like he was one of the guys I'm closest to. You know, when we were playing each other, we were talking back and forth, having a good time. So just cool to see him again. And you know, he played in Hawaii. My family lives in Hawaii, so that's something we talk about sometimes.
What was it like going up against him in that game last year?
Oh, it was really cool. You know, obviously Oregon was, you know, one of the best teams. I think they were ranked number 1 at the time. So it was, you know, a great team and great player that I want to play with.
Mason, it looked like from things going around on social media during the draft that guys were getting prank phone calls. It looked like you got one, and obviously Shedeur got one. Just what's the reaction to that when that happens to you in that moment?
I mean, it is what it is. You know, people are gonna, you know, be people at the end of the day. You know, if they want to do that, then, you know, I had the same number since, you know, I was a little kid, so I wasn't really thinking about it. But you know, it happened, and you know, we're off of that now. So
Mason, that was your phone and not an NFL phone?
No, that was my phone.
Mason, going back to Dillon Gabriel real quick, I mean, a lot of people talk about his size. I mean, you went against him. Do you even notice it when you're going against him? How did you kind of overcome that?
Yeah, I feel like he kind of embraces. He's a smaller guy, and you know, he does the things he needs to do to, you know, create, you know, space for himself and, you know, do what he does on the field. So, I mean, I feel like he's been that size for a long time, and he's played really well. So I don't think it's a problem.
Have the Browns given you any marching orders in terms of where they want your weight to be? Do they want you to put on some weight, put on some muscle, or what is the plan there?
Yeah, I mean, my plan was, you know, always to get stronger, bigger, faster, stronger. So, you know, I feel like the Browns are on, you know, the same wavelength on me with that. So we're all bought in together, want to get bigger, faster, stronger. But, you know, there's no specific weight I need to be at. They just want me to feel best and play the best.
How about with Miles? Will you attach yourself to his hip in terms of just the weight room stuff and all the crazy stuff that he can do like that?
Yeah, for sure. He's a freak, and I just, you know, I want to surround myself by him. And, you know, he's done it at the highest level for a long time and is, you know, the best at what he does. So that's a good guy to look up to.
How'd your family wind up in Hawaii?
They moved there after I graduated high school. I was actually considering going to Hawaii for my senior year. So, but I was like, I'll just finish my last year in California, and then you guys can move after.
So have you visited them there and stuff? Do you get back there a lot?
Yeah, when I was in college, we had the month of May off, so I would go in May and, you know, hang out with them for the month and then get back to football and stuff again.
All right, there you go. Mason Graham at the podium from over the weekend. Obviously, a lot of attention at rookie minicamp was on the 2 quarterbacks, but you'd be remiss not to also acknowledge that Mason Graham, it's harder for him on an interior defensive lineman. It's hard to be as noticeable as it is as a ball carrier, receiver, as a quarterback, corner, or linebacker. It's tough, but he has a presence about him, and it's somebody that is very noticeable when you see him on the field.
Well, and again, I think he's going to be a guy that you might need to – you don't want to push rookies into playing, but from day one, you're probably going to be counting on him because we don't know what Mike Hall's rehab and from his injury. And, you know, you've got Shelby Harris, you've got a couple other guys, but that room with Dalvin gone and it has undergone a little bit of change, and a lot's going to be expected. And you get drafted at number 5, the expectation is you're going to be on the field day one. So, I mean, there's a lot going. I think he's more than capable of handling it. Here's a guy that was a projected top 5 pick a year ago.
Yep.
Before even this year. So, I mean, I think he's a leader. I think, you know, the fans aren't going to call it the sexiest pick, but it's a pick out of necessity. And it's a pick that we need, and he fills a very big void on this football team.
Yeah, and I think he's one of those guys, like, you just plug him in there. He's starting on the defensive line from day one. Like, he runs with the ones right away, and away you go. Like, you take a D tackle 5, you go.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the deal.
He needs to go.
Yeah, and I think he will. I mean,
he will too.
He's really impressive. I mean, this is another thing, and Bill Bender and I we talked about it today on this show. Then he and I talked earlier I think maybe yesterday in the morning, and one of the things that struck him, not just about our guys, but about the quarterbacks, but everything, was just how enjoyable all the dudes are. A lot of good guys that were drafted and really likable dudes, and the 2 backs are that way, and Fannon's that way, and Schwesinger's that way, and Graham's that way. So they drafted really quality dudes and really talented players from big-time programs. and now they're going to get the opportunity to shine on a very, very high level. So it was cool. I saw our media team, I think from yesterday, had that picture of the 4 quarterbacks standing next to each other. So all that stuff is pretty cool.
It's good to see that they're all here in a voluntary capacity.
Yeah. That is absolutely always a win. All right, so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. It's presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, Cavs best 2 out of 3 at home. Get one tonight. That's got to be they have that expression, take it one game at a time. There's something applicable to it, and it would be tonight. And it's win one, and then you put the onus back on them for game 3 or
Look,
game 6.
That's what the Pacers are. They want to come in. They want to bully you around. Play your game.
They are throwback, dude. They are Anthony Davis, Dale Davis, and then that turned
Shrimp.
into those guys. That turned into then Artest and Jermaine O'Neal, like that kind of second incarnation of those guys.
Yeah,
but they're just physical and they'll punch you. I think Donovan Mitchell has had an all-time playoff already. I know he's banged up, but I mean, you see him at shoot around. It feels like he's going to go. So hopefully they can at least get it done tonight, and hopefully that place is raucous and willing to go. It's one of those ones where I feel like the start, you'll know so much by that first.
You did Sunday night.
Yeah. Well, do they start lights out, and then when Indy punches them back in the second quarter, do they have an answer? That's usually kind of
and you know at the end of the third, early fourth, Indy's going to come with a run. They've done it every game. They didn't need to do it Sunday, but the first 3 games, they came with a run.
Yeah.
Can you weather the storm?
Yep. That's it. Got to be able to get that done. Here's something that if you were to say a year ago you would not have had on your bingo card. Bill Belichick was on SportsCenter today. There must be ACC meetings or something. Like he's on set.
No, he's doing his book tour.
So, but it looks like they're remote. It doesn't look like SportsCenter is in Bristol. It looks like it's on the road.
I wouldn't think the meetings are this early.
But like he's on SportsCenter being grilled about his girlfriend. Like this is Belichick. And he's like, she has nothing to do with North Carolina football. This is what he's doing.
That's
it's one of the most. By the way, I'm team him on this. Like the idea that Pablo Torre is looking into this stuff and his personal. What business is it if any of ours? Whatever he does in his personal life.
Correct.
They're consenting.
Yeah. He's on with Strahan
weird,
Friday
but like,
morning
who cares?
on Good Morning America. That's the book tour part. Okay. I'm assuming it's a book tour.
Yeah, I thought so too. But like the video I saw of him answering a question, it looked like SportsCenter was on the road. So I don't know. All right, Next Level is coming up next. We are back tomorrow. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland.